Hello, welcome to the 23rd day of January 2026. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video broadcast exercise that I do at 5:30 a.m. every morning to remember and share the values in my book, Going Alone, and to apply them to my own life. Of course, that's the main reason. I also use this time to think about yesterday and think about where I did well and where I did poorly so that I can tune myself. I sometimes go over the larger, state of my life. I like to go review my creed and prepare for the coming day. But before any of that, a huge welcome and thank you to my YouTube subscribers, Patreon supporters, and YouTube members. I really do appreciate all of you. I do talk about sensitive subjects, not as much anymore as I used to, but I still do talk about them sometimes in this video, so be forewarned. And given that this is a personal diary, this isn't a message that I have for anybody else. This is just me talking at my diary aloud in a public setting. So I hope you won't expect anything more than just that. I will read and respond to comments, but not until I get to the end. So let's go over the notes from the last 24 hours. So yesterday was a day of work. It was my first day at my new job running the English club for the school. I was hired by a Japanese language school in December, and I to begin work in January, which is now January. I'm now 1 week into my new job. It's very little work, very, very part-time. I teach two 45-minute classes back to back on Tuesday mornings. And then I have another Thursday, two, basically an hour and a half on Thursday afternoons teaching or leading the English club. And yesterday I did that for the first time. I met with the group. Now I did have a chance to exercise some of my principles yesterday, mainly and if you hear me say hashtag and then a word, I'm referring to one of the objectives or principles from Going Alone, my book. And so I'm calling them out. That's how I call them out, as a hashtag and then whatever the word is. So yesterday I had good cause when I did my work yesterday to use hashtag maturity, hashtag reason, and to maintain my hashtag balance. Oh, and hashtag good emotional reactions. The reason is that I had been previously told that the previous leader of the English club would be attending yesterday's lesson or yesterday's meeting, and that my job was really just to attend and take notes and kind of get the feel of how the group is running. It's an hour and a half long meet together, and I did that. I did show up with a mind to do that, but being experienced in life and knowing that plans sometimes don't go as expected, I had also planned my own lesson plan, so to speak. It's not a lesson, so I had planned my own use of the hour and a half together just in case. Good thing I did. The person that was the leader, the previous leader, was unable to join us at the last minute, so it was in my hands, and so I took it from there. So I maintained my hashtag balance, which is the consequence of being prepared and living according to one's to good values, living according to good values, and was able to maintain my balance and had a great time. The interaction, the hour and a half, went like that. In fact, I turned into after we were done, one of the students is preparing for a big test, and I hung around and helped them to study a little bit to prepare for that test. And sorry, I'm getting a candle ready. We're about to lose a candle. I shouldn't be multitasking. Let me finish this and then I'll continue. There, I'm sorry. Hashtag one thing at a time. So not to multitask. So I really had a great time. So that went really well. Good thing that I prepared. Good thing that I was ready. And it's okay to pat myself on the back. After all, this is a journal entry, right? I can say, "Dear Diary, yesterday was an interesting day. I was leading the English club for the first time. Good thing I prepared ahead of time, as it turns out that the preparation was needed." All right, so so now here's something that happened after that. I had a great time. I came out of the school feeling great, and boy, I'll tell you, it makes a huge difference having a job that you only show up for, do for an hour and a half and then leave. There's none of the run up in the morning. There's none of the office politics, or very little. There's none of any of that. It's just show up, do a little bit of thing, and then walk out the door, and your day is free, and then you're heading off to enjoy the day. So what I did after that was I well, I had I did something that I had been thinking about doing for a long time, since even before I moved back to Japan, which is that once in a while I thought it would be fun, aka midnight diner, to pop into like a Japanese izakaya for a beer and maybe a couple sticks of yakitori uh, on the way home. And that's exactly what I did. So it was, by the time I was done, by the time I left the school, it was late. It was after four, it was just around 4 o'clock, 3:45 something. No, it was like 4 o'clock. And by the time I made it to the downtown station to catch my train, all the izakaya were opening. So I kind of wandered around looking like a salaryman. I had my little worker's bag in hand. I really looked like a proper businessman. And I popped into a little izakaya yakitori place. I was the first customer in the evening, and more people arrived shortly thereafter. And I ordered a beer and two sticks of yakitori, just like I had always imagined. And I sat and I drank my beer and I enjoyed my two sticks of yakitori, and I had a fun time. And then I went home, and one beer didn't impact me one bit. I went home, had a nice evening with my wife, dog walk, dinner, etc. That was fun. So I don't know how often I'm going to do that. Turns out that I really don't like going out and drinking that much. I never have. I never did that when I was in college. I rarely did that when I was a working man. It's once in a while, maybe kind of maybe I've checked that item off my list. Maybe I don't need to do that anymore. In hindsight, oh, and then I stopped at a nice dessert place along the way. I was downtown after all, so lots of dessert places, and I got Yumiko and I a rather famous dessert to enjoy in the evening. I do that every evening now. I I go out and get Yumiko and I dessert. It's kind of my thing to do. That was fun. All right, that's all I have to say for yesterday. It was a good day. I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed the sense of fulfillment that comes of making good use of time. And I also spent a good deal of time before that in the morning working in the garden, clearing further work on the bamboo forest, which I plan to do in earnest today. Today is all about bamboo work today. All right, as for the creed, my creed consists of the following 8 objectives, which help me to tune my life and align me with a frame of being that helps me to make good use of my days, so that when death finally does come, I don't look back and say, what a waste of time. The first of these is to at all times be ready for my own death. This means that I need to have my relationships in good shape. I need to try to complete my life's work and have my affairs in order, so that I don't leave a messy life behind. And for the most part, all that stuff is done. I am ready for death. The second objective is to uh, make good use of my days, to get up early in the morning and squeeze good utilitarian value out of every hour, even if that means recreation. And sometimes and I'm not much of a recreational person. I don't like to just sit, for example, and watch movies. But if I want to squeeze out a half hour or 15 minutes, more like it, to watch a movie or something like that, I can allow myself to do that. That's all right. But more often than not, the good use of time for me means cultivating my mind, reading books, rereading the best books that I have, my 18 books right there on the shelf. I spend a good deal of time reading those books, even though I've read them all before. As in the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, one should, once they've reached a mature stage in life, stay have a spend time with a limited selection of the best quality writers that we know, to reflect and remember those what we've learned, what we've collected, little treasures. That's like picking up a gemstone that we've picked up in the course of our life, and picking it up and holding it in our hands and reflecting on it from time to time. That's a good use of time. Being in the garden is a good use of time. Walking my dog is a good use of time. Enjoying a meal with my wife is a very good use of time. Getting exercise and feeling vital, and doing things that don't involve output. I'm really, I think I'm really changing a lot in terms of what constitutes a sense of satisfaction now. It's no longer about making stuff to share with anybody. It's really about consuming the moments in an honest and earnest and heartfelt way. My third objective is to develop and then maintain the objectives and principles outlined in my book. That's what I do every morning. That's why I do this exercise every morning. This good life meditation started out initially as exactly that, a simple chance to recount, remember, and tune my values. The fourth objective is to cultivate an emotional state so that I don't react poorly when things get difficult in life. Cultivating good emotional reactions, because if I have good, if my emotions are in check, if I can control my emotions, then I can control my actions. My fifth objective is to apply my values in an effective way throughout the course of the day so that I'm not just developing and holding on to good objectives and principles, but abiding and applying those in every juncture throughout the day. My sixth objective is to recognize the limits and opportunities that are before me so that I'm not reaching for things beyond my grasp, nor neglecting the things that I should attend to that are within it. Number seven is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and very carefully. And then lastly, my last objective is the objective of balance, which is a state of body and mind that comes of the hard work of living well in accordance with values that we've striven hard in the course of our life to develop, remember, and apply. I'm going to read now from the book. I'll read the principle called nature. Now, this is not nature like birds and bees. This is nature like as in the nature of things. Something like Seneca would be very or Marcus Aurelius would be very interested in. So, opening the book to page 256 of the hardbound edition. Hold on, let me get another candle going here. This illumination helps with how hopefully I don't burn myself. The principle of nature. Everything and everyone has some qualities and character which define what they are and what they are about. This nature, combined with perspective and will, is their paradigm and operational guide. So, combining perspective and will with your own nature, and you have your operational capacity and engagement in life. The demands of biology, that's biology with a capital B. So I'm referring not to the biological science, but to the mandate that exists within the coiled matrix of our genetics. And the demands of biology are a mandate deep and sound from the perspective of survival. So biology tells us to make babies, which is a good thing to do from the perspective of survival. The demands of biology are a mandate deep and sound from the perspective of survival and the continuance of our kind. I ask myself at every chance, what is the nature of the things I will meet and interact with today? Oh, that is so Marcus Aurelius, isn't it? Who would wake in the morning and ask himself, what is the nature of the men whom I will engage with today, of the tasks that I will be demanded to perform, of the decisions I will be asked to make? What are the natures of the people I know and with whom I share life? And what is my own nature? Very critical question. What am I made of and where am I going? Knowing these things will help me to engage better and more reasonably with everyone and everything. The principle of nature will help us to be more grounded in our interactions and our expectations. As for today, it's a Friday. I don't have work again for what is it? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I've got four-day weekend ahead of me. I go back to work on Tuesday, and I've already got my lesson plan all set for next Tuesday. So pretty easy set of days ahead. I don't need to worry about the Social Security pulling trigger. I know I need to wait on that. I am starting to assemble information to do my taxes, and that information is starting to filter. And I might work a little bit on taxes today. But I'm definitely going to spend a good deal of time in the garden. I'm slowly thinning out the bamboo forest to gain a clearer, not just to let more light through and more air through as spring arrives, but also to gain a more clear perspective from the first floor patio and my second floor balcony to the garden and the river beyond. And I'm finding that as I'm clearing the shrubs and the brush and the bamboo, the sound of the river is coming through, flitting through the bamboo forest. Uh, Tinkles so nice. What a perfect distance it is from the house to hear the sound of flowing water, neither too softly nor too harshly. Oh, and I'm going to send I got a birthday gift for my daughter's boyfriend, and I picked it out this week and got it for him. So I'm gonna send that to him as well this week. Emiko got something to add to the box as well, so we're gonna send him his birthday gift. Let's read comments. First, I need a sip of my tea. That's more of a chug, though. Oh, by the way, the temperature here, I checked earlier, it's negative. It's like -4 degrees or -3 degrees. And humidity is like something like 70 or something like that. Japan Monomore says, hello. Hi there. Good to see you. First, you say. Robert says hello to myself and Japan Monomore and notes that it's currently -3 degrees. You and me both. 53% humidity with air quality index of 35 in Napanee, Ontario, Canada. The AQI has gone up a little bit, has it not? Tim says, good morning. Weather check for the UK at 8:33 p.m. is 7.1 degrees Celsius. A nice warmer day. 96% humidity, a dark, menacing, torrential, rainy day. Seems like that's just the opening of a novel right there, right? It was a dark, menacing, torrential, rainy day in Castle Mortibund. And there's Shigeru Katsushiro says, Ohayo gozai. Wow, oh, I lost it there. Ohayo gozaimasu, Kato-san. Shifuri desu ka? I don't know what that last part is though. Good morning to you. You're saying to me, and then there's a question, but I can't read the question because there's kanji. And then Robert says hello to Shigaru Katsushiro. And then Robert says hello to Tim. Japan Monomore says, hi, Kurt, would you consider doing English classes, etc., when your pension comes in, or are you doing it because it gives you pleasure? I'm doing it because, yes, I will definitely consider doing it when my pension comes in. I'm doing this not for pleasure. I'm doing it for structure. I'm doing it to break up the landscape of one free day after another, which is more daunting than I know what to do with. So I don't. I need something to look forward to and to dress up nicely, to go to get on a train, to go do something useful, and to feel like I was productive. It's me having a cigarette on Tuesdays and Thursdays after a lifetime of smoking, so to speak. If you get what I mean. And maybe eventually I'll get over that. Well, and maybe eventually I won't need that anymore, and I'll be able to quit the job and just enjoy being retired. I don't know, but not yet. So yeah, I'm going to continue doing this even after my pension starts or my Social Security distributions begin. Tim says hello to Robert. Japan Monomore says hello, howdy, more or less, to Robert. Evelyn, hi Evelyn. Evelyn says hello to myself, Japan Monomore, Tim, Robert, and Shigeru Katsushiro. Tim says hello to Evelyn. Japan Monomore says hi to Evelyn. Robert says hello to Evelyn. Shigeru Katsuhiro says hello to Evelyn and good morning. Japan Monomore says, aha, you have a sweet tooth. I don't have a sweet tooth. My wife has a sweet tooth, and I like to indulge my wife's sweet tooth and share in that experience. I don't mind. I'm not against sweets. I wouldn't, if I was single, I wouldn't be buying sweets. And I would, what would I do if I was single? What would I do for an indulgence? A coffee, maybe? Yeah. Evelyn, Elvina, hello, Elvina. Elvina says hello to Kurt. I think that's me. Hello to Japan Monomura, Robert, Penguin, and Shigeru Katsuhiro. Evelyn says hi to Elvina. Tim says it must be nice to do a job of work where you are in total control, so to speak. Your toe isn't fully dipped in, but just enough to give some fulfillment and pleasure, minus all the stresses. Yes, exactly. Oh, and boy, Tim, I would need to add that yesterday's English class, English club, was so much fun. I had it's a small club, just 3 students right now, and they are young adults. I'll tell you where they're from. One is Japanese, the other is from Myanmar, and the other is from Indonesia. And 2 women and 1 man. The 1 man is from Japan. And we had the best time. They're just the type of 3 young adults that I would love to spend time with. Interesting, thoughtful, energetic, excited about the future and life in general, and very good English speakers. I really had fun yesterday. We really enjoyed our talk. Tim says hello to Elvina. Robert says hello to Elvina. Japan Monomura says I'm reading Soseki's I Am a Cat in Greek, and that's a challenge since it would have been easier for me to read in English. Wow, that sounds like a real challenge. Japan Monomura says hi Elvina. Evelyn says, I'm curious how the English club was structured yesterday. So, Evelyn, it was structured. I'm sorry if you didn't hear, I mentioned it before, but I'll briefly repeat it. So, there's someone else who's running the English club until April. And I was asked to sit in and watch them do their thing. They didn't they couldn't make it yesterday. Last minute, they couldn't make it, so I was left to my own devices. Fortunately, I had planned ahead of time, and I had planned to use the hour and a half with introductions, and then I had an exercise discussing a few topics of safe and sane topics that we could discuss, and that so I used those, and it went very well. My plan on a going forward basis is to have more um, interactive events. I don't have audio visual in the class, and I don't even own a computer, so I can't. It's not like I can use any audio visual aids. But we will mostly probably be having discussing recent topics, etc., topics of interest. That's what we did yesterday, and it went really well. It's amazing what can happen when you've got interesting, well-spoken, and very authentic and engaging young adults in a room. Elvina says, listened to a radio show today on CBC Radio 1, Ontario today, talking about you are ready for retirement. Very interesting discussion. Very interesting. Wow. Hmm. Hmm. It's nice to have such topic even being discussed. I wanted to stay single and it works for me. Hmm. I decided to stay single and it works for me. Yeah, nothing wrong with being single. Evelyn says, are you ready, Elvina? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a good question. How are you feeling about it if you want to talk about it? Japan Monomura says, taxes, the bane of my life. Ah. Tim says, my former workplace did a retirement course, Elvina, worth checking if your employer does the same. I certainly found it very useful and gave me insights I wouldn't have thought of. Yeah, my employer did that too. They would have like every month. I mean, I work for an absolutely ginormous organization of 35,000 employees. So every month they would have retirement courses and people from the various organizations, and it was really interesting to attend that class and hear what the instructors had to say about the retirement process, and also to hear others talk about their own worries and preparations or the lack thereof. Japan Monomura says, "Do you have an old shrine or temple close to your house, Kurt?" Yes, I do. We have a village shrine just down the way. There's a couple of Buddha statues hanging around, and there's the old temple, one very old temple called Hirasawa, just up the river that we can walk up to along the river. So we have temple, shrine, and then various religious, elements all around that area. Plus, in my own backyard, I have a Jizo statue that I collected, and I've put in the garden, and I have 2 authentic, um, life size, I mean real size, Inari fox statues that I picked up at an antique auction more than a decade ago, and were being held here for me, waiting for me to return, and now I've put them in the garden. They're very nice. Elvina says to Evelyn, I'm not ready for sure. I love my job and the benefits are good. I also love the students at the high school where I work. Watch out, Elvina. It's yeah, listen to those what's going on in your mind. I mean, Tim, for example, has done well in retirement. I mean, we all have our challenges, but Tim, I think, can be our poster child, so to speak, for someone who is successfully made the transition into it. I have not made a good transition into retirement at all. I'm struggling greatly with it, and I know so many people that are. In fact, I just got messaged by my former boss yesterday, who still in touch with, who is on the verge of retirement, and it is not going well. It's awful for him, and so many people struggle. It's amazing that we don't seem to talk about that. I think Evelyn is more like me, you know, finding her way forward, keeping one foot in the work world, like someone. Evelyn, I think you and I are kind of like a couple of people drifting away from the safe shore, holding on to a little rope or a string in case we need to pull ourselves back, right? Whereas Tim is out there doing backstrokes out beyond the furthest buoy. Good for you, Tim. Elvina, good luck to you. And we're here if you want to talk. There's a good group of retirees over here they're happy to chat with you. There's Robert too, who's retired as well, and Robert seems to be doing as well, doing well in retirement. That is believe in yourself. Tim says more rain forecast for Friday. I think we will be getting flood warnings across the UK soon. Tim, wow, geez, is there some guy like named Noah that's walking around gathering animals where you live, Tim? It sounds like it's rainy all the time lately, which is keeping with my impression of how jolly old England should be. Elvina says to Tim, my work and my union both offer a lot of support. Isn't it great that you work in a place that offers such support? Mine did too. What was interesting, Elvina, I don't know if others can chime in as well, is how that suddenly on your own once we left the work environment in so many ways. Once I left that giant organization with all the infrastructure and all the support, as soon as I got in the car, made that final walk to the car and drove home on that last day, all of that support apparatus was gone and I was on my own. um, it's the first time I've actually considered that thought, which was solicited or brought about by virtue of your observation, Alvina. So something to keep in mind. I don't know if your organization has post-retirement support. I doubt it, right? Because it's mostly a work benefit. But that's something to consider as well. Is where will you find your people to talk with? You're welcome to you found some people here if you want to talk about it. I mean, we're a very sympathetic bunch, and hopefully you'll be one of those who makes the transition, and you're never looking back, right? You're enjoying your days like my wife. My wife is, I mean, gosh, I mean, she has entered retirement, and she has no idea. I talked to her. She must think I'm nuts that I'm going back to work. She's like, "What the hell are you even thinking about, Kurt? Just enjoy your life." She's one of those. I'm not. So come here and talk to us if you're ever struggling, or have questions, or you just want someone to talk with about it. Tim says, "Good to hear, Elvina." Yep. Hey, there's April. Uratsu Adventures. Sorry I'm late. Was watching Elon Musk at Davos for the economic forum. Now I think I should invest in AI. Ooh. Welcome, April. Good to see you. Elvina says, I know during summer vacation, after about 2 weeks, I get antsy without the structure of a job or even with gardening and daily tasks. Elvina, watch out. I'm not, and it's not. This is a good dilemma to have, right? I mean, if of all the dilemmas that you can have, the dilemma of figuring out how to make use of all the free time, and there's lots of resources you can do this. There's videos on YouTube. This is a very very common um, challenge. But if you're feeling it after 2 weeks, watch out because it can get nasty, especially after about a month or so of freedom. I'm just reporting my own story, and it can get nasty and it can get scary. But you're not alone. Hopefully you'll do fine. But you're not alone if you're not doing fine once you get there. We're here for you. Robert says hello to April. April says hello to Robert. Hope all is well, everyone. Thank you for your well wishes, April. Elvina says hello to Udatsu Adventures, aka April. April says, "Oh, speaking of taxes, I would be interested in learning your YouTube earnings." not the amounts, but the tax process for filing in Japan along with your US taxes. It's very simple. Google sends me a 1099 on my YouTube earnings every year. I've been a YouTube partner for, you know, forever, ever since the full program first started. So every year, Google just sends, it's like having a part time job. They just send me a 1099 and I just fold that into my taxes. Well, every year I would just send that along with all the other W 2s and 1099s to my accountant, and she would do it all. Now I'm doing it myself. So it's really, real simple. Just, and Google is good. They usually send that like within the first 3 weeks of January. And I got it this week, actually. Oh, Evelyn says, hello, Miss Udatsu. Japan Monomura says, you were once keen on a house close to a graveyard. Why did that fall through? Oh, I guess I don't remember. I guess we went through, we looked at maybe 2 dozen houses before we bought this house, and they fell through because they weren't the right house. And I guess the graveyard house probably wasn't the right house either. I don't even remember it. Udatsu Adventure says, hey, Evelyn. Uh, Tim says, LOL, it did take a while to get into the full retirement swing. All those years being conditioned to work and then trying to turn that off like a tap was very hard, to be honest, but now all is good. Yeah, you seem to have found your way. I'm think something has changed with me, Tim. I have recently discovered that I'm turning off, I'm able to consciously turn off the part of me that felt like I needed to be productive. And that's helping me to just enjoy and sit with the days and not feel like I have to be making stuff, to bringing in a salary, or raising a child, to saving for retirement, to any of that stuff anymore. It's all done. My work offers, Elvina says, my work offers retirees a chance to do supply work for both teachers and office staff if they want. I've got a friend um, that's doing that in Canada right now. And he tried the retirement for about a half a year. And then he went back in as a substitute teacher. And he says he's doing well with that. And I can tell you that I'm working as a teacher right now, as a both a very part time, just a few hours a week, and substitute teacher with the school that I'm working at, and I'm really enjoying it. Elvina says, I do have a volunteer opportunity for after retirement to look forward to. That's wonderful. I think volunteering can fill the bill as well, very much so. Tim says, weather is starting to get a little depressing here. A lot of Atlantic fronts bringing in all the rain. Would be nice to have some dry weather and some sun. Soaked on my walk today. Claude. Hey, Claude. 68 and retired at 62. Wish I had retired at 40. Hope to see you in autumn if I return to Okazaki, Nagoya for more Japanese classes. Did 12 wonderful lesson weeks. Greetings to all in Kurtlandia. Very nice, Claude. I would love to see you. If you come through Shizuoka, let me know. We'll meet downtown and have a cup of tea. And you are another example of someone who seems to have figured has reported figuring out the retirement game. And I've heard that as well, that many people, retirees, say wish they'd done it sooner. I don't know if I would say I wish I'd done it sooner. I think I did it on time because I had to complete my life's mission. I had to complete raising my I couldn't have done it sooner and completed my life's mission of raising my daughter and completing my book, and also kind of just rounding out a few things. I think the timing was just right for me. But if all those other things had been done, yeah, maybe sooner would have been better. April says, yeah, the U.S. tax part isn't crazy. The Japan part is. Yeah, Yumiko's taking care of all that. So, uh, well, but the Japan part, so we will lower taxes. That's the nasty part, is that I'm going to wind up. I don't get the standard deduction for my U.S. earnings. So even though in the United States I don't have to pay the first part of taxes up to the standard deduction, I do have to pay that in Japan. So I do have to come up with the money to pay the Japan part that I don't, because you don't get double dipped, right? You don't have to pay. Japan and America have a tax agreement, a tax treaty, so I don't have to double dip. But you do have to pay the part in where the other one doesn't cover, and Japan doesn't have the standard deduction. Damn it. Evelyn says, "I'm proud of you, Kurt. I'm still on the one thing a day plan. I'll be heading back to Italy when I get my passport back." Yeah, I still do the kind of the one thing a day too, but I don't consciously think it out loud. But that one thing a day is reliably spending time in the garden, as long as the weather's nice. And back to Italy you go. Look at you. Evelyn says, I have a teaching job in Bologna, but only if I agree to a full year. No thanks. Ooh, well, yeah, that's a lot to ask. April says, my friend in her late 50s and always talking about different seasons. She's currently in the season of her last kids leaving home and then having to relearn how to live with her husband as a couple. That's a serious challenge for some people. I have a friend here in Japan that's in the midst of that. And a lot of people really struggle with that because you wind up at home with someone that isn't the person that you knew when you were dating, right? I wish them all the best. April says, instead of parents, oh, Jen trying to, she's continuing, how to live as a, no, she's currently in the season of her last kids leaving home and then having to relearn how to live with her husband as a couple instead of parents and relearning how to be people, for lack of a better word. That's a very good word. Good luck to them and all of us who enter that stage of life. Says Japan Monomore. Bologna is a beautiful city too, Evelyn, she said. And is Japan Monomore says. Tim says, I felt retiring at 58 was okay. Any earlier, not so sure. Thinking that retiring in your early 50s is that retirement or simply not working or being unemployed. You've touched on something there, Tim. For me, retirement, enjoying, and I mean, okay, here I am struggling with retirement. There's a piece to that makes, and Tim, I know that you're going to agree with this. I just think I know you well enough now. I felt like I had to do my fair share, right? It would be like retiring too soon would be like checking out of work before your work was done. I feel like because I always like to say, I have this vision in my mind, and I sometimes say, time at the coal face, right? Laboring away, swinging a pickaxe at the coal face down in the mine. I want to make sure that before I put my pickaxe down, that I've done my fair share, like Rosie the Riveter, right? What does Rosie do? And that came of basically retiring at 60. Now 55 to 60, that's close enough, right? But if I had retired at like 40, or like and I was rich at one time, I was a millionaire at 30, in my early 30s, and I tried to take a year off then, and it was absolutely terrible. I took a whole year off with $1 million bank when I was in my 30s, and it was absolutely terrible. And it's because I hadn't, I couldn't be Rosie. I hadn't done my fair share yet. Now I know that's all going to change now in the age of AI, right? That whole paradigm is shifting, but that's for the young people to figure out. So, but I was raised with that idea that I had to do my fair share. Evelyn says, for me, retirement is when you collect Social Security. That's an interesting way to simply say it. Hmm. Okay. April says, yeah, my dad tried retiring around 70, but gave up and decided to keep going for another 15 years. Your dad worked till he was 85? Wow. Some people do that. There's a doctor that my wife used to work for when before she came to America in like 1982, and he was old then, and his office is downtown, and we walk past it sometimes, and Miko says, I used to work here, and the doctor, he's still working. He must be in his 90s, and he's still working, and because that's where he gets his identity. Oops, I need another candle. Just a second here. Tim says, exactly. It's a topic that causes a lot of arguments on the Facebook Retirement Club. There's people on there wanting to retire in their 40s. Like I kind of think that I kind of think that earn, but I kind of think is that it's earned. I think that's what you're trying to say. I don't know. I think that's a mindset that people of our generation and generations before might have, right? Like you can't have dessert. Like what do they say in Pink Floyd's The Wall, right? You can't have any pudding unless you wait. You, how can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat, right? Pudding being dessert. Japan Monomura says old folk in Japan run small izakayas in Japan in their 80s and 90s because they enjoy it, and it's their identity, right? I think there's a lot of wisdom if you're smart enough to figure out that your identity is strongly tied. Like there was a woman, she was a project manager like me, where I my last job, and she was when I retired, she was 45 years into her career. If she retired, she would walk away with like 135% of her salary for the rest of her life. She'd get a pay raise by quitting her job. Yet she wouldn't quit, and I would talk to her why, and she would tell me very clearly that she hadn't her husband was dead, her kids were grown, she had an empty home to go home to, and at work she was professional, she was needed, and she felt satisfaction. She had no intention of requiring. I, at the time I thought that that was foolish. Now I realize that that was wisdom and foresight on her part. Very smart that she figured that out. Um, Japan Monomer says oh, actually I read that one already. Tim says, if I lived near you, Kurt, I would set myself up as a candle seller. Very, very nice. Have you guys ever seen what real Japanese candles look like? Of course, everybody knows what regular candles look like, but this is a real traditional Japanese candle. And I bought this at a flea market for 200 yen. It's an actual antique, and I haven't burned it yet though. But yeah, you could be one of these guys. uh, April says I ran into old retired people at McDonald's that were about the same age as my dad, but they seemed so much older. I think the earlier retirement had something to do with it. I think you're right, April. I think there's a lot of wisdom with staying with work if that's where you feel like your identity is. Wisdom. I think. I'm gonna make it. I think I'm gonna make it to the other side. Um, I'm gonna be like Tim. It's gonna take me a few. 'Cause I think Tim, you said that you struggled for a little while, right? And then you got there. And I've heard over and over the story of people struggling and then getting there. What a strange and first world kind of a struggle to have, right? Struggling with freedom. April says my dad was still Genki until that last year without working. Ooh, that's a cautionary tale, right? Watch out. Watch out leaving when you're not ready, right? Oh, well, maybe your dad was just, it was time to leave, right? April says, when he wasn't working. Yeah, I think I filled in the blank for that one. Japan Monomer says, why are Japanese candles shaped that way, Kurt? I don't know, but I think it's because they burn better that way. That kind of a taper. But I don't mean, I had a couple, I bought a couple of these. I burned the others. They burn fast, but beautiful, big flame. They're very, very nice. Um, April says, I keep thinking about you might need those candles when the power goes out. Might. Yep. Tim says, I certainly got plenty of them. I think to ease your way into retirement is the way to go. I think you're right as well. And I got the candle holder to carry it around with if the power goes out. And I think you're right, Tim. Easing it in, being prepared, having a heads up about what to expect is wisdom. All right, everybody. Well, I think I'll go ahead and ease off from there. It's in the negatives this morning. It's going to be a cold one at radio exercise this morning. I hope that the oldsters and I can stay warm. Little Rudy is all bundled up and hidden under his blanket over there. He's not coming out. Evelyn says, "Good chat, guys. Good to chat with you, Evelyn, as well." April says, "Yeah, relaxing a bit at a time instead of doing it all at once seems like a good plan, so you just don't have a bunch of nothingness to deal with all at once." Wow, well spoken. Japan Monomor says, bye. Mon Patel says, nice to see you, Kurt. You too, Mon Patel. Wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe, everybody. April says, have a great day. Stay warm. You too. Bye bye.